Controversial former Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio says he is running for Senate, telling the Washington Examiner he has, quote, a lot to offer. Known for his immigration crackdowns, Arpaio said in a fundraising email that he's concerned about sanctuary city policies. He served as the sheriff of Maricopa County in Arizona for 24 years. You'll remember President Trump pardoned him last year for defying a judge's order that he stop targeting and detaining Latino drivers on suspicion of being in the U.S. illegally. Arpaio is running to replace Senator Jeff Flake, who is retiring. Well, according to the Department of Homeland Security, border apprehension for the calendar year 2017 is down 40% from 2016. Despite the numbers, President Trump says we still need a border wall.
But, you know, you speak to the agents, and I spoke to all of them. I lived with them. They endorsed me for president, which they've never done before, the Border Patrol agents and ICE. They both endorsed Trump, and they never did that before. And I have a great relationship with them. They say, sir, without the wall, security doesn't work. We're all wasting time.
Joining me now, Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally and Brandon Judd, the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Thank you both for being here tonight. Good to see you.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Congresswoman, I'll start with you. You were in that meeting today.
I was.
Was there real progress? Are you moving forward on anything?
Well, I was glad to be invited to the meeting, and I appreciate the president's leadership. We've got to address these issues, and there's some clear priorities here of securing our border, stopping illegal immigration, not incentivizing more in the future, addressing and getting rid of chain migration, the visa lottery, and actually we'll be introducing a bill tomorrow. There's 4 of us that have many of these priorities that the president talked about today, plus some additional ones. We've been working on this nonstop for about 4 months together, and we think this is a really strong conservative solution. And I appreciate that there seemed to be slight agreement, some agreement by our Democrat counterparts there, that we at least have 4 topics that we now need to negotiate. And this cannot just be addressing DACA or a Clean Dream Act. That's a non-starter. I think most people are willing to have a conversation on DACA, but we've got to address the root causes of why we have 800,000 people here in the first place and make sure that we don't have that happen again in the future. And so these are common sense solutions that we've got to negotiate for the American people.
And I know you're not convinced that a wall is the answer, at least not a 900-mile or plus wall, as the president is so committed to. A study from the Center for Immigration Studies says this: if a wall stopped half of those expected to successfully enter illegally without going through a port of entry at the southern border over the next 10 years, it would save taxpayers nearly $64 billion, several times cost. Why are you not convinced?
Well, I agree with the president, and I agree with Brandon here. We do need a border wall. We do need physical infrastructure, and we've seen in my district that I represent, where we previously had no barriers and no fencing, it was a free-for-all. The cartels were just driving through anywhere. The ranchers and border residents were having to deal with it. And so there's some physical infrastructure there, and it has caused a problem for the cartels to have to deal with. So that plus technology, agents, and everything that we need in order to stop the cartels is important. So we absolutely need a border wall and everything that goes with it in order to keep our country safe.
All right, Brandon, what would help you as somebody who has worked on the front lines there? I know that you all are facing real dangers, assaults, I mean, threats to your physical body and well-being. How tough is it to retain, to hire people to join you there? I know the president and several of the legislative fixes are dealing with giving you more personnel.
We've had a difficult time retaining our employees because if you look at the past 8 years, the good guys were being handcuffed. Our agents were being handcuffed, and we were taking those handcuffs off the bad guys, and we were just letting them go. So anybody that crossed the border illegally, we would take them into custody, and then we would just turn around and let them go to where they would then disappear into the shadows of society. And so since we've had a new president come in, and because he is tough on the laws and wants to enforce the laws the way they're written on the books, our agents are a heck of a lot happier, and we're able to keep agents a little bit better. But we still have an awful lot of work to do there. But I think that we're going to get it done.
And you've needed funding for that as well. I know there's been some talk about the mix of more Border Patrol agents versus customs agents. What would be most helpful, do you think, in actually securing the border?
We need them both. When you look at customs, they drive an awful lot of revenue in this country, and we cannot slow that revenue down. The Border Patrol agents that work between the ports of entry, like myself and some agents that are with me here today, we work between the ports of entry, and we stop all of those things that are coming across illegally that people don't see. And we both do an extremely important job, so you have to have a mixture of both.
All right, so we hinted today at the news in Arizona as well that Sheriff Arpaio is running. He says, I'm running from the great state of Arizona for one unwavering reason, to support the agenda and policies of President Donald Trump and his mission to make America great again. Of course, Congresswoman, there's a lot of speculation that you're going to toss your hat in the ring as well. Any comment on the sheriff's entry or your potential entry?
Well, Shannon, you may know that we do have an announcement coming on Friday, so I just ask you and your viewers, especially in Arizona, to stay tuned for that announcement.
We will.
If you don't mind, I'd like to jump in. We're hoping, Border Patrol agents in Arizona are hoping that Congresswoman McSally does, in fact, throw her hat into the ring. She's been extremely tough on border security. She wants border security, and for that, we would support her.
Okay, so if you once you make it official, you got one vote, at least right here, and I think a couple more here in the